welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, William Liu. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. What are we doing today, Alex?
First of all, hi. How are you?
Oh, okay. Hi. Yeah. We've already talked to each other for like half an hour right now.
Oh, sorry about that. We have Michael Pina of The Ringer joining us in the first segment. That's Mike. He's on the line with us, and we're gonna go around the NBA, talk about some NBA topics before talking about the Raptors game tonight in the second segment. Michael Pina, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Did I pronounce your name right?
No, you said Michael Pina.
Oh, did I say
like a
that?
pina colada?
Oh, okay. I think that's an actor in the Marvel universe as well. I want to say.
Alex, I've only known you for like 15 years. It's not a big
I was
deal.
gonna say,
Mike, can I call you Mike? I feel like I want to be casual.
You can call me whatever you want, man.
What does Bill Simmons call you?
Wow.
Because today
He pronounces my name correctly. I'll just leave it there.
Okay.
Did I pronounce his name right?
Yeah. So yeah, today I'm Simmons. You know, you're still Mike, and Will is Joe House, and we're gonna have
Bradley Beal's contract is so big. Let's get rid of him.
You also have
Why
to talk
not?
about having 6 plates of ribs last night.
Oh, it was
at a
great.
restaurant in
right
Memphis.
before I went to play golf. Love these things that I'm passionately a fan of as Mr. House. What's going on, guys? Can we just impersonate the pod the whole time? Actually, gotta be funny.
These are things that we have already done before. But if you don't know, Mike Pina was one of the original guests on the original Stephen LeBron radio, man.
Yeah.
That's how far we go back. Anyways.
And yet you called him Pina.
Yeah, listen, man. We have established that this is one of the many problems that I have as an on-air host, which is why I try to, produce on most days. But yes, we enjoy all your work at The Ringer. We were trying to get you on before the trade deadline, thinking the Raptors were going to do a bunch of things, and they didn't. I guess I'll start asking you, Mike, do you enjoy the play-in format? We've had this for several years now. Are you yes or no to the whole play-in format of things?
I think I'm yes. I think it adds some spice to the regular season, and particularly this year where the standings are so bunched up, it adds a little bit of weight to these games as we're coming down the stretch run. It gives hope to some teams like the Wizards and the Raptors playing tonight to make the play-in and to, see if you can bust into the playoffs and then maybe make some noise. Probably not, but
you're not really selling the play-in format right now, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, the opposite is just everyone loses on purpose. So that's no fun. I don't want to see that. So I like competitive basketball. I do like the actual play-in games. Those have been really entertaining for the most part in those small sample size that we've had them. So I'm pro play-in. What about you guys?
I mean, I'm not pro play-in this year when the Raptors are struggling. I feel like if we can get to 8 and just be in the playoffs, that'd be nice. But no, I mean, I think in general, yeah, I do like it as well. At same points, really. It just increases competitiveness. I also feel like, it does give more teams hope, like the Lakers, like the Blazers, like every game matters for them. I mean, the Raptors are pretty much in that same boat, so I'm not trying to even talk down on these guys anymore. But no, it should be fun, and I'm looking forward to a really anxiety-inducing 2 games for the Raptors come time for mid-April.
Yeah. Do you think that's a good thing though? Versus if you think about just the old format where just the top 8 teams make it, right? Right now you'd be looking at the Raptors really just having an outside shot maybe of getting into an 8th spot versus there's the comfort of being in that 7, 8, 9, 10. I guess my pushback would be how much do these games actually matter? Because I feel like a team like Toronto or Washington, they could struggle for a week. They could go on a 3 or 4 game win streak and still be right there, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a struggle talking about the play-in tournament, man. I thought you had the Phoenix Suns at the top of the topics.
You wanted to get to Kevin Durant right away? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Play-in talk is dead. I'm sorry.
Play-in talk is over. On to teams with actual aspirations, like the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant made his debut last night against the Charlotte Hornets. Had a chance to watch a little bit of that game. He had 23 points in 27 minutes, 10 of 15 from the field. Michael Pina, what would you make of Kevin Durant's debut, and what do you think about just the construction of this team moving forward in Phoenix?
I mean, KD looked like KD in the minutes when he was on the floor. Just unstoppable mid-range pull-ups. I thought he played pretty seamlessly with Devin Booker, with Chris Paul in the starting lineup, and then because he's on a minutes restriction, they staggered him and played him with all bench units, and he just that's kind of when he took over and just looked like prime KD, the best scorer, maybe the best player on the planet. So he looked great coming off I don't even know how long he was out for over a month, I want to say, I'm pretty sure. So there was a little bit of rust. Had a couple of weird turnovers, but was blocking shots, was flying around, he just looked like KD. Really scary sight, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I watched a lot of this game, and I mean, it's the contrast, because obviously I watch the Raptors every single game, and then I rewatch the games, stuff like that. So much of my basketball consumption is the Raptors, and offense is so hard to come by. And then you watch a team like this.
Oh my god!
And it's just KD has the ball and he gets a screen, and okay, they're playing him to, get downhill a little bit, and then he just pulls up from 20 feet and it's cash, and then he does that again, and then it's a Devin Booker post up turnaround jumper and it's in, and DeAndre Ayton is dunking everything around the basket, and I'm just man. I mean, I get it. It's the Charlotte Hornets. The Raptors also dominated the Hornets, and everything looked fluid as well. But you just know that the level of shot making on this squad is just kind of absurd, to the point where it's just I feel like the big winner here is, I think, Chris Paul, man. I think Chris can finally get to play in that 2019 Kyle Lowry role, where it was Kyle was never going to be the first option on a championship, was never going to be the second option on a championship. But if he can be on a team where he can use his smarts, bring the ball up, not turn the ball over, keep things running, play good defense, and then get the ball to your primary scorers. And KD and Devin Booker are better primary scorers than Kawhi and Pascal, who are the top two options for us in the 2019 year. Chris can actually have that chance now. I mean, I get it. He was in the finals, and he was a really big part of that. But I really do feel like he can now just be the playmaker. And just watching him, just I don't know, he wasn't even he had that big of an impact in the game last night. It just felt like he was very comfortable. But the job is so much more easy for him, because he has just two of the best scorers in the league to just feed the ball to.
Yeah, Chris was 1 of 8 from the field yesterday, 2 points, 11 assists. And I think over the course of the season, we've seen a bit of slippage from him in his play on the offensive end. Moving forward, Mike, do you see, if you're kind of diving in, looking at this Phoenix team, obviously now with championship aspirations, are there concerns heading into the playoffs about CP, about their depth? What stands out to you in terms of maybe questions that they still have to answer, even after adding KD?
Well, first of all, I love the Kyle Lowry comparison. And I actually had in my notes here that the Suns team, I mean, they're trying to sort of replicate what the 2019 Toronto Raptors did, where you make this trade, you plop a superstar onto a very good playoff team. Those Raptors were a little different in that they were improving upon the prime A scorer role with going from DeMar to Kawhi. But then they also added a 3-and-D player. They add Danny Green in that transaction. So when I look at Phoenix, you're adding KD to a nucleus that has been to the finals and has tried to knock on the door and couldn't knock it down. KD is amazing, but the gap between Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Josh Okogie, Torrey Craig, TJ Warren, I think will be significant in the playoffs. And it's hard generally to find chemistry in the middle of a season, particularly on the defensive end. And for them to win 3 playoff rounds against teams that have been together all this year and then through battles in the past few seasons together, I just think it's going to be very difficult. I disagree with people who just kind of penciling them in as the favorite or the team that's going to go to the finals from the Western Conference. I think the Western Conference has some really good competitive teams. They're going to be chomping at the bit to go up against them. And I really look forward to watching those playoff battles, but I would not say that Phoenix is just the overwhelming favorite because they have Kevin Durant now.
Yeah, I think losing those wing defenders, like you said, with Cam and Mikal Bridges, I think about playoff matchups that they might run into, having to guard, a Kawhi and PG, with the Clippers, or even think about Luka, Kyrie with the Mavs, or even the Kings. Nuggets, all these teams. Like I do wonder if that's going to be the thing that kind of gets them in the playoffs. Like if they have enough.
Yeah.
There.
I mean, I think they're probably just hoping that like if they get into a close game, they can just be clutch merchants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I mean like it's just. I also think that on the flip side, there's no team in the Western Conference that really has the defensive versatility to line up across the board with them. You know, and I think that's where it's really dangerous. And you know, one of my favorite players of the year this year, Josh Okogie. I feel like every game I watch, Josh Okogie, he's wearing that mask. He's knocking down a whole bunch of jumpers. He's giving a huge effort on defense, which he always did, you know, even when he was in Minnesota and stuff. And it's just like, no, he's kind of popping a little bit. Like, there's obviously a big chance here for someone to sort of break through, and he's kind of doing that for them. I do agree, though, like, they do feel kind of small across the board. That's where I think the comparison with the 2019 Raptors, like, that team had legitimate size with Marc Gasol at center and then, you know, Serge Ibaka coming off the bench. And, of course, those guys can play together at times, as they did against Philly, which was another gigantic team. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, you had that kind of you know, versatility and depth on the roster. But I think the big difference between this and 2019 is Phoenix is going to be this team next year as well, and the year after that as well. Obviously, they can probably move Chris Paul, and they have a lot more options to do around that. But the fact that you have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant together in a marquee market is, man, jealous, man. If only teams could, you know, go out and get Kevin Durant. We could have different conversations on the Raptors show.
Yeah, if only things happened differently.
It's all good, man. Jakob
Summer.
Poeltl, baby.
Yeah, no, I think
Elite.
I think you make a good point too. The fact that they have these players under contract, and we've seen in these past situations, like when LeBron was in Miami, like as the years go by, and you know they have that nucleus there, you're able to just add guys, right? Whether it's like on minimum deals or just bring in and just fill in roles that they need.
Look at like Terrence Ross. Like Terrence Ross would have been a really good buyout candidate for a lot of teams, but he chooses to sign with Phoenix.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and I think too, like they gave up a lot in that trade, but you know, having even guys like a Campaign or Bismack Biyombo, like guys that you can play in like specific roles, like you're not asking that much of them, but it's not like it's left their roster like completely thin, in my opinion.
So it sounds to me like you're sipping the Kool-Aid. Phoenix is the best team in the Western Conference?
Yeah, I mean, that's the next question I had for you. You know, I feel like because of all these moves that have been happening in the West and KD to Phoenix being the main one, like, are we just sleeping on the team that's been the best in the West for pretty much the entire season, the Denver Nuggets? Like, do you still feel like when the playoffs get going, everybody is healthy, that, you know, Denver is still the team to beat here?
I love Denver, love Jokic. Yeah, I think that people are for sure sleeping on them. I understand the questions about their defense. It's not that great of a concern to me because I just love I love the personnel that they have on this roster as opposed to what they had the past few playoff runs, particularly last season, which is just like a complete wash with, you know, Will Barton playing like 45 minutes a game.
Hey, no, that's new Raptors Will Barton,
yeah.
right?
Sorry.
Come on, man.
Watch yourself, Pina. Yeah.
I apologize. But Denver's really good. I mean, they have the historic offense. Jokic is, I think, the best player on the planet, completely unstoppable on offense when he has the ball. You can't really guard that team. So I love Denver. I mean, I like a lot of teams in the Western Conference, to be honest with you. I'm the only person alive who still believes in the Los Angeles Clippers, although the last game against the Timberwolves was extremely concerning to me. And this whole Russell Westbrook experiment, I would like it for it to end. I think I'm done with it.
Already? It's been like 3
So,
games, no?
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at look, the first 2 games, he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
He seemed to be disciplined in what type of role would be ideal. But like at the end of the day, he shouldn't be starting. He shouldn't be closing. And their offense in 78 minutes, which is not the greatest sample size, is the worst offense in the NBA when he's on the floor with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, which is just like kind of concerning to me. So I think that is something that needs to change, but I still like the Clippers a lot. I like Memphis. I like who else is in the Western Conference. The Kings are the Kings. I mean, the Warriors, if they get healthy, are the Warriors. Like, I did not mean to say that the Kings are the Kings and the Warriors are the Warriors. Like, those are the 2 equal things. But these are good teams, and they've kind of been able to gel throughout an entire regular season or past seasons. And I just think that, like, I want to see Phoenix. I just want to see Phoenix a little bit more before I pass judgment on them.
That's totally fair. Even like yesterday, for example, like I had to just keep in mind, like, Yo, it's the Hornets, man.
Of course. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, oh, KD's going to hit like
Yes.
3 mid-range jumpers in a row, and then it's Terry Rozier ISO time. Like, you know, like obviously they're going to win that game. No, I think that, no, they're not the clear-cut favorites for me. I think I still like the Warriors, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, I like the way Clay's looking of late.
Yep.
It feels like he's really come back from injury. That's a great story there. And obviously it's very easy to root for Clay. Steph obviously has been in and out. You know, he's going to settle in. I mean, Poole hasn't really been living up to expectations for them. But, you know, I mean, we've seen we've seen a lot of young players like not necessarily live up to expectations when they get anointed. I mean, it happens. Like, you look across the league, it's like guys who were really excited for last year. Scotty Barnes, Tyrese Maxey, you know, Jordan Poole, right? And there's just 3 random guys who were very young last year that we all got really excited for, who played winning parts in winning teams. All 3 of them are underperforming, and then sort of like it kind of changes expectations. By the way, I think Scotty has really like flipped that for himself pretty much since like December. But still, I think the overall picture was like we expect these young guys because we're so excited that what they're going to do next. And then when they do the same thing or they take a small step back, we really, really get down on them because of the you know, the difference between our expectations and what the reality is. But I still like the Warriors, though, man. Still really like the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, I know the standings are really bunched in the West, and that's going to be the case coming down the stretch here. But, you know, the Warriors have moved into the top 6 for now, even though they're only like a couple of games of like falling out of the play. And I think out of all these teams that are fighting for the playoff seeding, you know, I would argue it's most important for them to avoid the play-in and avoid having to go through that extra stretch. Like if they can even get up, I don't know if they can get to a 4 seed. I mean, they're only 1 back in the loss column of Phoenix right now. But yeah, you know, the Warriors have that pedigree, right? We've seen all the stats when they're fully healthy. You know, they still have, I think, the best like 5-man lineup in the league when they're able to run out there. And you know, we don't need to run through, you know, their playoff resume. That's going to be a scary team. Like, you know, if Denver has to play like a Golden State in like a first round.
That's a horrible matchup, though. That's a horrible matchup.
Yeah. But I think I'm with you, Pina, too. Like with the Clippers, like I'm actually pretty high on the Clippers because I just think like the Westbrook thing, if it doesn't work, like they have other guys that they've added. Guys like Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee. They still have Terrence Mann. And like Paul George and Kawhi can take on more of the ball handling duties if they want. I feel like it's one of those things where they're going to look and see if this Westbrook thing is going to work for these last like 15, 20 games. And they're under no pressure to really, you know, have him as part of their playoff rotation or have him in the starting lineup when the playoff starts if they feel like he's not contributing to the team, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I think one of the biggest differences between his situation with the Clippers and with the Lakers was the Lakers were paying him a max contract and they traded away their entire team to get him. So there was no depth, there was no shooting, and the fit was atrocious. Whereas with the Clippers, you know, they have a ton of shooting, they have a ton of depth, they have plenty of ball handlers, they have rim protection, they have just a lot of complementary pieces where you could find a nice role for him in a winning situation. I just think that, you know, playing him 30 minutes a night is just not that role. And like the fact that Eric Gordon played 7 minutes in that Timberwolves loss is just like, what is even going on? I just wonder if like Ty Lue is just kind of sending a message to Paul George, who was very public about bringing in Russell Westbrook. Like, okay, this is Russell Westbrook. You want to play with him? This is what's going to happen. So I hope that they kind of get past this as quickly as possible, because this is a team that at the end of the day still has to gel. Because
Kawhi
Leonard.
How long have they been trying to gel for, man? It's been 4 years.
They've been gelling longer than the pandemic, man.
All fair points.
Yeah.
But they did bring in new pieces at the trade deadline, and Ty Lue has kind of struggled a little bit finding a consistent rotation. They have a lot of really talented players. So I would like for them to settle that before the playoffs begin. I think they should aim to do that. So yeah, I think that the Westbrook situation is just kind of like a wrench in their scheme, which isn't ideal at this point in the season.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, honestly, it's just, you know, Kawhi's been playing at a higher level. And if you go into the playoffs and you have him at this level in a 7-game series, like even 2 years ago, I felt like they were on their way to the finals until he got hurt.
Yeah,
in that series, right?
My word with Kawhi in that kind of playoff setting, because obviously we in Toronto have the utmost confidence in Kawhi.
Sure.
My thing is like, you can't just be Kawhi though. Like, you know what I mean? Like the team has to function well as a unit around him, right? He can carry you through 1, maybe 2 series, but just where he's at physically and the demands on his body and stuff like that, like I don't know. That's dangerous to me. Like, you need a functioning ecosystem around Kawhi. You know, Kawhi isn't like the LeBron type where it's just like, okay, we're gonna carry Jordan Clarkson and George Hill to the finals, and I'm gonna score 50 points on the Warriors. Then, like,
yeah, no, that's
you know,
fair.
he's not like that guy. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
no,
what
that's
about
fair.
the East though?
What about the East?
Yeah. The New York Knicks.
Oh man. So Pina, you know, you're based in New York. You know,
I am.
not to dox you, you know, you live right next to friend of the program, James Herbert, I believe.
Oh, that's cute. That's adorable, man.
Walking distance, I believe I've been told. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere in Brooklyn. No, the Knicks, you know, I think under the Tom Thibodeau era, you know, they had the really fun run 2 years ago. Get into the first round of the playoffs, and then took a step back last year. Obviously huge. The Jalen Brunson signing has just, you know, paid off huge for them.
Yeah.
And to the point where, you know, people aren't really talking as much about them missing out on Donovan Mitchell as they probably would have. And Josh Hart's been a nice addition to them. They've now won 7 in a row. And you look at the standings now, they're just one back in the loss column for fourth to catch Cleveland there. Like, what do you make of this Knicks team? Like, is it time to, you know, like, obviously I don't put them in the championship contender category, but, you know, is that a dangerous team come playoff time?
They're good. I think this is the best Knicks team since at least 2013. That 54-win team with Carmelo that I guess had their lights turned off by Roy Hibbert. But like, this team, top 5 offense, which is startling given who their head coach is and how their season began. Jalen Brunson might make an all-NBA team. I mean, he like banged his knee in the first quarter last night and finished 15 for 18 with 39 points. Like, he's absolutely incredible. His mid-range game, the floaters, the in-between stuff, it's kind of a big difference between their offense this year and their offense last year. He's just been, I mean, it's kind of not criminal that he wasn't an all-star, but definitely was playing at an all-star level before the selection. Julius Randle has been really, really good. A huge bounce back season for him. They low-key have one of the best starting 5s in the NBA with Quentin Grimes, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, who's kind of struggling in his first, after signing that big contract. I don't know what his future holds, but he's productive, if not inefficient. And then, yeah, they bring in Hart. Emmanuel Quickley's having a great year. I like this team a lot. I don't know how much will translate, particularly on the offensive end in the playoffs, but like, we'll see. Like, they're very feisty. They beat the Celtics the other night. No Jaylen Brown in that game, but that was an impressive win. And, you know, in a 7-game series, I just think they're like miles ahead of that team that made the playoffs 2 years ago. I had like very little respect for that group. I think this one is way more dangerous in a lot of different ways. They can play a lot of different styles. They're grimy on the defensive end, and they have 3-point shooting. So it's a very good team. It's a very good team.
Yeah, and I think too, they're an interesting team, you know, beyond this season too, in that, you know, they have the assets that they didn't move, you know, in the Donovan Mitchell discussions. And we heard them earlier this year offering all those first round picks for OG. And like, if the next, you know, disgruntled superstar becomes available, and we know New York, you know, at least on the surface, you know, is an attractive destination, even though they use facial recognition in the arena to, you know, track everywhere that you're going. But like, you know, that could be a destination. Yeah.
It's fine, man.
Maybe
where are you even going, man? It's fine.
Maybe
Just give that up.
maybe a Joel Embiid or something. I don't know.
That'd be
If
sick.
the Sixers, you know, playoff run comes crashing down.
That'd be sick. But I probably, I mean, if I had to guess, it'd probably be Towns.
Oh yeah, that's
it's
a more of a
Towns.
Knicks.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or is have we done a check on Damian Lillard's loyalty recently?
No, he's tripled down on loyalty, man. He's like
He's not going anywhere.
Yo.
Leave Dame alone, please.
Bro, all he wants to do is score 60 in the Moda Center and play with Trenton Watford, man. That's all he wants to do is play with Watford, play with Sharp, play with Anthony Simons. Like, that's what he wants to do, man. Just let him do it.
Pina, Dame said recently that we better all pray that he doesn't win a championship in Portland.
Has anyone prayed?
Have you
that
been
he's not gonna
praying?
win a
Yeah,
championship?
we just want to know. Have you been praying? Yeah.
I haven't said any prayers.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I can't say that I have.
Okay.
Got
just
you.
just
Got you.
double checking.
Yeah, to be clear.
No, but you know,
I'm not leaving.
speaking with about the Sixers too. You know, you wrote an article this week just taking a look at James Harden's season, and just, how he's been doing, and how there's been obviously stylistic changes to the way that he's been playing. Less shots are coming at the basket. He's become more of a playmaker. The free throw numbers are going down. Is he, for you, kind of like the most interesting player going into the playoffs for you, like in the Eastern Conference? Because it does seem like, based on his resume and based on where the Sixers are at now, having to make this push and trying to get past Boston and Milwaukee, like there's a lot on James to finally deliver something in the playoffs this year.
He is interesting to me, just as this. I mean, this feels like the last chance for him to actually go on a lengthy playoff run. If it doesn't happen this year, I don't know what the Sixers can do with their roster to upgrade around him and Joel that would be meaningful and that would make them scarier than the Bucks or the Cavs. The Cavs will be better. The Celtics, just like a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference that should be better. I don't know how the Sixers improve. And yeah, like playing with Embiid, he was KD's teammate, so this isn't the first time. He was not the best player in his own team, but playing with a guy whose usage is so high, who's basically the scoring leader, who dominates the ball offensively, it's just been really interesting to see him like just double down on being one of the better playmakers in basketball, averaging, I think, only 14 shots a game, which is his lowest since Oklahoma City by a decent margin, not driving the ball as often as he did, but somehow being just hyper efficient in all the ways that we're kind of familiar with James Harden being hyper efficient. The step back is still there. When he gets to the line, he obviously makes his free throws. So it's just a fascinating kind of situation where, are we going to see just this one last gasp of brilliance through a several week run in the postseason? And he looks like the guy from Houston for just a stretch, like a critical stretch, or is kind of the more worrisome data that we've seen this year, is that more indicative of who he is and will strike in negative ways in the playoffs? And the Sixers either don't get out of the first round or don't get out of the second round again. I think that's just a really interesting question, because he's the guy who can push them over the top. I think still he's by far their second best player, and there's a lot to like about what he's done this year in a way that has been certainly overlooked, because the fact that he didn't make the All-Star team was just really surprising to me. He's just still a really, really good player. So what he does in the postseason is just this big question mark for me. And the repercussions of, if he flames out again, just what they would be are just, with his player option on the horizon, are just humongous. Because you mentioned Embiid going to New York. If this thing implodes, I think that Embiid's future in Philadelphia is certainly on the table, and a lot of teams with a lot of draft equity and trade assets will be chomping at the bit to get that guy in their organization. And James just seems happy to just go back to Houston and get a max contract, which is a whole different conversation and absolutely ridiculous to me. But yeah, it's a fascinating situation in a lot of different ways.
They're offering him $200 million in ones. So I'd take that. I'd take that too, actually.
And they're going to bring Eric Gordon to the meeting, because apparently they're really close.
Oh, yeah.
All I want is Eric Gordon to go back to Houston.
No, this reminds me of one.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, well, he's definitely doing that. Actually, maybe the inflation has gone up these days, but it reminds me of when KD was a free agent, and he had a list of 6 teams that he would go visit.
Oh, this is the Hamptons. Is this the meetings in the Hamptons?
And then the Celtics were brought in to meet with King Durant.
Yeah,
and the group was wasn't it Marcus Smart, Kelly Olynyk, and then Tom Brady made some sort of appearance, maybe virtual or in person, I forget.
Right.
And I was
Kelly Olynyk was wearing a tie-dye shirt, which is just one of the great moments in the history of Boston sports, and it obviously worked out well for everybody in that traveling party. I don't know why he was invited to this day, but
it's got to be the first time someone's wore a tie-dye shirt in the Hamptons. No, I mean, the Sixers are interesting too, because I feel like on both sides they're sort of painted into a corner, right? I don't feel like James has that many options. It's literally go back to Houston and have this retirement check, or you stay in this unhappy situation if you guys don't ultimately make it. There's a ton of pressure on those guys, and No, they don't really have a secondary perimeter creator either. Like the hope would be Maxey kind of takes over, and
Right.
Maxey's numbers are still good, but like he's sort of been, I don't know. It's just there's not maybe the same like excitement over him as there was last year in the playoffs. By the way, he did cook the Raptors. My goodness, man.
Oh, man.
I have nightmares about Tyrese Maxey. He did it again at the start of the season against Toronto as well. But no, Philly's gonna be interesting to watch. I mean, I don't know. I mean, are they like a true contender for you guys though? Because I was watching their game against the Celtics, and I was like, they were outplaying the Celtics for huge portions of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Al Horford just makes like 5 threes in a row, and then the Celtics make a whole bunch of clutch plays, and all of a sudden they win that game. But I was looking at that, and I was like, I didn't really think that the Celtics had a half court defense for what Joel Embiid was doing. And I think in the past they had a better chance of guarding Embiid, but if they can't really hold Embiid in a single like in a half court setting, then all of a sudden the Sixers are a legitimate threat to pretty much every team, because of that.
Yeah, what do you think, Pina?
I think Joel Embiid is amazing. Is probably going to finish second for the MVP, maybe first. We'll see what happens over these last 20 games or so. I don't really buy the Sixers. They're such a prove it to me team for a variety of reasons. Like I look at their roster and there's so many pieces who I don't trust surviving for 3 or 4 playoff rounds. Like PJ Tucker's 37. Tobias Harris always shrinks in big moments. Tyrese Maxey, James Harden on defense against the Celtics just always beat them because it's just a matchup nightmare. Like Embiid, I don't think anyone can beat Embiid, but when you're doubling and you're tripling him in the playoffs and he's trying to shoot over those double teams, it's just like, okay, you can make a couple of those, but that's kind of what we want as a defense. And I have a lot of questions about Philly. So it's going to take that's why I think Harden is just so interesting, because it's going to take him being amazing for them to make this type of run. And there's just a lot of pressure on his shoulders to do so. I don't think he can. We'll see. But I'm a little less high on the Sixers than I think most.
Yeah, do you actually, because The Athletic put out a report this week, and this was a follow-up to a report that came out on Christmas Day about interests.
Why'd you put that out on Christmas, by the way?
When the Sixers were having such a peaceful season.
Yeah, this guy's like, here's a lump of coal.
that there's mutual interest in James Harden returning to Houston. Like, do you really think he would go back to Houston at this stage in his career? I just find it hard to believe.
I think he will. Why wouldn't he? Like
I just feel like he's in like that kind of like ring chasing kind of part of his career, needs that championship to fill out his resume. I just can't think of a lot of players who's been on this trajectory, like this level of player, who would like close out their career on a team like that. And then that's not to say that Houston isn't going to get better. You get Harden. Maybe make some moves here. They have a lot of draft picks and
they
things like that.
They got to make a lot of moves.
They got to make a lot of moves. They got to learn how to break the full court press.
I mean, James can do that.
Probably bring in a new coach. All of this stuff. Like, it's not like he's gonna come in and suddenly they're gonna be contenders within a year or two. Like, it would just be really surprising to me at this point of his career.
But does Harden strike you as a ring chasing kind of guy?
But I mean, he got out of Houston to go to Brooklyn, right? To have that super team.
Houston was over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you make that kind of push and you don't make it through, you just got to go at some point.
But like Brooklyn and Philly, clearly 2 destinations to try to win a championship.
Yeah.
Right? And I just can't think of another recent example of a player of his caliber where he's missing that championship. Like, I even think of guys like Melo and stuff, like towards the end of his career, I think he was trying to get that championship on several teams, things like that. Like,
no, but you need to sacrifice to win a championship, right?
Yeah, I'm aware.
And so, like, I mean, like, I need to see a commitment to playing defense.
Yeah.
I need to see a commitment. I mean, the playmaking aspect is good, but I also feel like the playmaking is in part because Embiid's way better offensively, and also he can't score as well either, so he's now going to his bigger strength, which is playmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see, like,
him going back to Houston, I guess what makes sense to me from a James Harden, that is James Harden. It just doesn't make sense to me just from a kind of grander NBA perspective. I don't know. I can't see it.
It's odd and perplexing, but that's like, if you're gonna pay, he loves Houston as a city for a lot of reasons, and if they're gonna pay him 9 figures, then he's gonna take it. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I think it's very strange for Houston to do it. I've heard obviously that they want to be competitive next year. They want to like compete for the play-in is kind of like the mandate down from ownership.
Nice.
I mean, if they
I
get
just imagine Tillman Fertitta like pounding his fist and it's like play in or bust, man.
But by the way, the funniest
Oh,
Tillman
man.
Fertitta story that we should talk more about always is that when they had the bubble,
yeah.
that every food vendor was a Tillman Fertitta company. This man was pocketing, and didn't one of the Houston Rockets like get in trouble for ordering from like outside of the bubble?
Bruno Caboclo.
Yeah.
You forgot about Bruno Caboclo ordering
he was
DoorDash.
like, I don't want Fertitta's catering, man.
No, but you can just imagine Bruno on his phone on DoorDash being like, "Oh, delivery address, just slightly
Like-
outside of Disneyland, please."
Like, how much was Adam Silver trying to help the owners, man? Fertitta pocketing side money from like his food and catering was ridiculous.
that'd
I
be
will
insane.
say, I guess the other thing that would change the equation for Houston is if they get Victor Wembanyama. Like, if you get
Yes.
Wembanyama and then you sign James Harden, then okay, fine.
Yeah.
Then I
Or-
can see
or
a
even
path.
Scoot. I feel like, although then
Yeah.
you have a weird thing where you have Scoot, him, and Green, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
and good old
I mean,
Kevin Porter
the guy
Jr.
who
Oh God.
I've heard that the Rockets may be interested in more than Harden, or if Harden stays in
Eric
Philly
Gordon?
is no, it's
Oh.
your boy Fred VanVleet.
Really? Wait, hold on. That's
Oh.
breaking news. Hold
What?
on.
Okay, yeah.
We never heard this with
Turn the
Fred.
TikTok camera
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let's
let
get
me
this
go.
going. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's go. Go ahead.
Michael Pina of the Ringer has some news about Fred VanVleet potentially.
This is
Going to Houston.
Yeah, all the aggregators, please get your pencils out, get the notebooks out. No, I this is just things you hear. And in hearing how committed they are to kind of stabilizing the organization and winning next year, that's just a free agent that makes a lot of sense to throw a lot of money at. Way more so in terms of age and I guess reliability than someone like Harden, who's 33 and has just a lot of miles on his body. Like, I would much rather pay Fred VanVleet if I was them to just be my franchise point guard and just smoothing things out a little bit, because their culture is just terrible as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Before we let you go, just one more quick thing for you, Pina. You know, it's been a lot of chatter the last couple of weeks, I think, coming out of All-Star Weekend too. And honestly, for the last couple of years, people have been trying to find like fixes and solutions for making like the NBA regular season more interesting. You know, we've had conversations about, you know, how to reduce load management so stars can be more available. We've heard, you know, Steve Kerr and other coaches and players talk about potentially reducing the regular season schedule from 82 games. And there was a report last week that like the league is considering implementing like a target score, I guess like an Elam ending type for overtime games, so it doesn't kind of go into those triple, quadruple overtime situations. In your opinion, like, do you think there are things that needs to be solved when it comes to the NBA regular season right now?
First of all, I want to say that the target score for overtime games is just like the dumbest thing I've ever heard
Thank you.
in my life.
Thank
Like,
you.
the double overtime game between the Kings and the Clippers was like the best game that I've watched all season. Why would we want to get rid of that? But that makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I think for me, reducing the regular season would be terrific. And this is said selfishly as someone who is just like locked in front of their laptop every night watching League Pass, and there's like 12 games on every
Sounds like a
night,
dream.
and it's super great.
My dream
And-
too. Yeah.
But it's just like I think that if you shorten the number, then I understand that it'll never happen for financial reasons, but you give more weight and currency to every single game that's played. That's just, I think that would be a really nice byproduct. I don't know how many games you could slash off. I would slash off a ton personally, and just stretch everything out and always have or increase the probability of having your best players available for every game. That would be terrific. I love watching stars play. And I know Adam Silver said it's a very deep league, but it's just not the same when the best players don't play. That's just come on. It's like, what are we talking about here? So I would cut the games and cut the schedule personally.
Okay.
Would you cut from the 82?
No, I mean, I get it. Like, for us journalists, like, it is less work, you know? Like, can we just put our biases on the table? I mean, Michael did
I don't want to
that.
say anything.
No, but I think for me, it's like, you know, this point that was brought up was what was actually from the program, Matt Devlin. He's like, look, we've cut into a lot of preseason and training camp. We've shortened that time. Now, we've used that extra bit of time to put more spacing in the schedule for the regular season, so there's less back-to-backs. And so like it's less on the load on that front. But I do think that extended training camp, or like just what training camp used to be, it does give more time for players to sort of get ready for the season in terms of preparing their bodies, like getting them completely fit and ready and for the grind ahead. And I do wonder if like if we shorten the regular season to something like 62 games or something like that, like can we then get back to, actually my preferred is 58. You play each opponent twice.
Okay.
But like, yeah, can you get back to having a longer training camp and even a preseason just to get them ready to ramp up for the start of the season? Because I do think that was a very valuable time. Now, of course, I think player training has changed over the years.
Sure.
It's no longer like Shaq saying I'm going to get fit during the season.
Yeah.
It's
Get
different.
surgery on company time.
It's now let's all go to the Rico Hines run and play for 2 months straight. But no, I do think that training camp is pretty important.
Yeah, and I think too, obviously this conversation can go in so many directions, because when you're talking about like how to make regular season games more meaningful, it's harder now in this era too, just because honestly the player movement too, like there's just not that type of like rivalry that you'll tune into when it comes to two teams. Like I just remember, like long ago, whatever, in the 90s, you can just pick out any of the rivalries. Like when the Knicks play the Heat, like it didn't matter if like Alonzo Mourning was injured or whatever. Like, guys, this was still an important game. And now it's like you look at the player movement this year. Like a month ago, KD and Kyrie were on the Nets, and now they're on two Western Conference teams. And it's like it's hard to kind of build interest in that way too. But I kind of agree with you guys though. Reducing the games would be the solution.
Think about the old days. They're the old days.
Yeah, I get it, man.
All right, we've taken up of Michael's time.
Yeah,
so
Michael Pina of The Ringer.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Make sure you check out all his work. Honestly, it's wonderful.
That's right.
Appreciate you, Pina.
Guys, this was a blast. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Okay, we're going to take that break, and then we'll come back. But in the meantime, I've been your host, Will Lou. That's Alex Wong. You're listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wayne Malou. Continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. Got to check in with you a little bit because, by the way, only a 4-day week for us on the show. Tomorrow, the trade deadline, so we're off, right?
Us? Yeah, we're off tomorrow. Shouts to the National Hockey League. They've got the trade deadline tomorrow, so make sure you tune in to all Sportsnet channels and obviously listen to Sportsnet 590 The Fan for all your trade deadline coverage.
No, I can't wait to see what else the Leafs do. But in the meantime, I gotta ask because you weren't here Tuesday. We had Blake in here. We had Big V in here Wednesday. So what have you been up to, Alex?
Just been chilling. Taking care of my personal life. And also ran into some devoted Raptors Show listeners.
Where?
At Zito's.
Oh, okay.
So just
want
to
to make it up there, by the way.
No, they're huge fans of the show. So just want to give a shout out to some fans here to the owner. Big Z, aka Angelo.
Wait, is his name Zito?
Super Dave, who's a friend of the store there, recognized me right away. Was like, oh, that's Alex from the Raptor Show.
Nice.
Olga, at the hot table, and Irina, just who made me a great sandwich.
Wow,
it was so good I had to get one to go.
This is the difference between you and me. You're a really good people person. You remember everybody's name and everything like that. Wow.
Andrea, Mattia, so shouts to everybody there.
Yeah.
They have the Raptor Show on every day.
Wow.
There, yeah. No, never see the other sports network there.
It doesn't even exist, man.
Just the Raptor Show.
They don't have a Raptor Show.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, it's interesting.
Turf Wars.
You're the one who started this, and I'm just anyway. What's interesting to me also, speaking of restaurants, is
speaking of noodles. Oh, okay, go on. Yeah.
Well, that's a good. I should have gone with that transition. That's good. Yeah, so the Raptors were inviting ramen Ishin into their facility.
Yeah, shouts to a friend of the program, Erica, who made us aware of this.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, shouts to Erica.
Yeah, Ramen Ishin posted something on Instagram where they set up in the back of the Raptors practice facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were offering two options for ramen.
No, I mean, I think we talked
a year
to Fred.
Too late.
So we talked to Fred last year. Remember, we talked to Fred. And we had joked about the Utah thing, right? About how we were going to invite him to ramen. And I famously slipped him a piece of paper just like this with my name and my phone number.
Yes.
And I just said Will. Actually, I said Will Ramen. And I put my actual phone number, my personal one, not my work phone, my personal phone number. I gave the
you dox yourself to Fred. Yeah.
And I asked Fred, like, have you had ramen with Utah? And he's like, I never had ramen before. So maybe he did yesterday.
No, we have to find out. We have to find out. I did try to message Josh from Raptors PR to get more details, but
I think he wants more details from us.
Yeah, so I ran into a brick wall there. Wasn't able to bring any scoops. So that was a tough one.
Yeah.
You also have a note here. Raptors season seats.
Yeah.
Price of the brick going up.
Friend of the program, Shankar Sivanathan. Shouts to him.
Shouts to the Shank.
No, man, just a genuinely,
great
genuinely
dude,
good person.
Great energy.
Working in an ICU, doctor.
Real job.
He's been on the program before as well. I mean, in previous iterations as well. But just a great dude. But he shared the fact that he's a season ticket holder, and he shared that the Raptor season seats invoices for the next year, 10 to 20% increases depending on location. Would expect the same increase in single game tickets as well. 10 to 20% after this season with the Toronto Raptors. After the fact that the Raptors are probably most likely going to bring back the same team, and they're going to go up 10 to 20%.
Well, better be in the luxury tax then, if you want the fans to pay for the luxury tax.
No, I don't even care about the luxury tax. I'm just saying, like, the product's got to.
I know it's tough. I feel like
again they're acting like they're an inelastic product, man.
I feel like for a lot of these teams, like I guess they're still recovering
10 to 20
from those empty arena days.
Well, remember I brought up the point of the pod that it was like the Raptors got hit by the pandemic way harder than any other franchise.
No, you have been the first on this.
Yeah,
you're the business reporter here.
Well, I mean, I also did talk to that scalper that one time. I saw him. We went eye to eye.
And then I ran up to him and he saw my police badge.
And then he's like, "No, I don't."
He's like,
I
don't speak no English.
I just like standing here at Union Station.
No, but listen, prices are still going. I'm sure obviously fans are not happy. But the other thing too is like, I think there's enough demand that people will pay for that though.
Yeah, but
Raptors
I don't know, man. I just feel like, look, obviously there's always demand.
Yes.
Like genuinely, we're joking aside, like it is an inelastic product, but like at the same time, like I don't think people complain about ticket prices going up when the Raptors record was going up.
No, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair. No,
And they
I
haven't
hear
really
you.
come down since they won the championship, and they're going up again,
Yeah.
even though they're going the opposite direction.
No, I hear you. We're running out of time here, but we should have a longer conversation about this another time. I think
agree.
it's actually interesting. And now it's time for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. The Toronto Raptors open a 2-game series in Washington.
Must win
tonight
Must win 2-game
against
series.
the
play-in
Washington
before the play-in.
Wizards. The Raptors are 2-point favorites on the injury report. For anybody wondering, Otto Porter Jr. remains out. And that's about it.
Okay.
So Raptors fully healthy, except for Otto Porter's toe against the Wizards here. Like you mentioned, it's a huge game. Basically a pick 'em. They're 2-point favorites.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
Okay, look, so the Raptors have matched up pretty well with Washington over the years.
Mm.
I thought last year they played Washington really well as well. I think OG has learned how to guard Beal, and he'll most likely be on that assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's the biggest threat. Porzingis, being a three-point shooter who shoots it from well over 30 feet
Sure.
regularly, is going to be a very tricky one because of the fact that the Raptors will probably have Jakob Poeltl out there, and that's going to make him quite uncomfortable to be out that far. He's a mobile big, but he's not used to playing that far out the three-point line. It's the same for most bigs against Porzingis. I actually think this might be another matchup where, similar to against Chicago, the Raptors close smaller
Okay.
so that you can make some of those longer closeouts with their faster players.
Yeah.
And Porzingis, even though he can't hurt you in the post, I'm pretty confident if he wants to post up Scotty Barnes. You know what I mean? Kyle Kuzma's also a threat, but at the same time, the Raptors actually have lots of length to go against him. And he's definitely a very willing shooter. And I think the one thing that you have to watch for with Washington, too, is that they will extend the rotation and guys will come in and they will have fresh bodies. The thing is, the Raptors now have some depth as well. So I like the Raptors. I'm pretty confident picking the Raptors.
I'm going to go with
-2.
the Raptors as well. Wasn't familiar that you knew so much about the Wizards.
Oh, I make sure to watch opposing teams at least once before we do this.
Respects to you. Just, you better
DeLon Wright.
you better pray Bradley Beal doesn't win a championship in Washington.
Oh man, the East
You bet.
East Coast of Damian Lillard.
you better pray.
Dame Lillard with no bars.
That's it for us. Shouts to Andrew Adams, too, for helping us out.
Congrats to
And
you.
again, we'll be back on Monday. And for folks listening to the podcast, obviously, Will's got you on the React Pod. 2 React Pods against the Wizards today and Saturday.
But no show Friday. But that does it for us today. I've been your host, Will Lou, and you've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Thanks again to Michael Pina, producer and co-host Alex Wong, our board producer Derek Brandejo, and Jennifer Rowland for helping with the YouTube stream. We'll talk to you next week, I guess.